I sent the invitation the way I send most things to my family now, carefully neutral, stripped of expectation, and wrapped in a layer of emotional Kevlar. I knew the drill. I knew the hierarchy. In the world of the Fletchers, there were the achievers, the leaders, the real professionals, and then there was me. I typed the message into the group chat, my thumb hovering over the send button for a full minute, my heart doing a slow, heavy thud against my ribs. I'm receiving an award on Friday night. It's a formal ceremony at the Grand Regency. It would mean a lot to me if you were there. I didn't even have time to put my phone down before the first notification chirped. It was my father. He didn't ask about the time. He didn't ask if I needed a ride. He sent 4 words that felt like a physical weight on my chest. An award for what? Before I could even reply, operational excellence, the second message arrived. Still a secretary, right? These things are usually just internal participation certificates. He added a laughing emoji. That yellow, grinning face felt like a slap. Then came my sister, Sarah, the golden child corporate lawyer. We're already going out to the steakhouse that night, Megan. Hard to reschedule for a work trophy. Maybe next time? My mother didn't type a word. She just liked Sarah's message. I stared at the screen until the light dimmed and the display went black. I wasn't surprised, but I was tired. I was tired of being the lowly secretary. I was tired of being the family's backup plan. I typed back the only thing I could. That's fine. But it wasn't fine. Because while they were ordering $80 ribeyes and laughing at my participation trophy, the world was about to find out exactly who Megan Louise Fletcher really was. And by the time the dessert menus hit their table, the name Fletcher was going to mean something very different to the rest of the city than it did to them. My name is Megan Louise Fletcher. For 3 years, my family has lived under the comfortable, slightly condescending delusion that I spend my days filing papers, clearing paper jams, and fetching soy lattes for important men in suits. To be fair, I started that way. I took a junior administrative role at Aura Logistics right after college when the market was lean and my confidence was leaner. My family never bothered to update their mental file on me. In their eyes, I was frozen in time. The quiet girl in the cubicle, the one who was lucky to have a steady paycheck. But Aura Logistics didn't stay small, and neither did I. While my sister was busy bragging about her billable hours at Sunday brunch, I was in the trenches. I wasn't just filing papers, I was analyzing them. I saw the leaks in our supply chain that the executives were missing. I saw the millions of dollars bleeding out of our shipping routes. I stayed late. Not because I was a diligent secretary, but because I was rebuilding Aura's entire global infrastructure from the ground up on a spreadsheet that no one else had the courage to create. I stopped being a secretary 18 months ago. Today, I am the director of operations. I oversee a budget of $40 million and a staff of 200 people who don't move a single pallet of goods without my signature. I have fired men twice my age for incompetence and negotiated contracts that would make my sister's head spin. But I didn't tell them. Why? Because every time I tried to talk about my life, I was met with a wall of disinterest. "That's nice, Meg," Dad would say, cutting me off mid-sentence. "But did you hear about Sarah's promotion to senior associate? She's handling the Miller account. That's real pressure." Eventually, I just stopped trying to climb over their wall. I let them keep their version of me. It was easier to be invisible than to be dismissed. I wore my old thrift store blazers to family dinners. I kept my mouth shut while they debated politics and logistics, as if I wouldn't understand the terminology. I let them call me the little secretary because it kept the peace. I lived a double life. By day, I was the woman who saved the company $5 million in overhead. By night, I was the daughter who was asked to be a dear and help with the dishes. Because, as my mother put it, your sister had a long day at the office, and you just sit at a desk. Friday night arrived. The Grand Regency was glowing, a pillar of marble and light in the center of the city. I didn't wear a thrift store blazer. I wore a tailored midnight blue silk gown that cost more than my sister's monthly car payment. I did my own makeup, staring at my reflection in the mirror, repeating a mantra I'd been whispering to myself for years. You are not who they say you are. You are the architect. I arrived at the venue alone. The ballroom was a sea of black ties, expensive perfume, and the low hum of power. These were the titans of the industry, people who knew my name, people who sent me emails daily asking for my approval, people who feared my no and craved my yes. I took my seat at the head table. To my left was the city controller. To my right was Marcus Thorne, the CEO of Aura. Marcus was a man known for being ruthless, a man who didn't give compliments unless they were earned in blood and sweat. When Marcus took the stage, the room went silent. Every company has a heartbeat, Marcus said into the microphone, his voice echoing off the gold leaf ceiling. But very few have an architect. Tonight, we honor someone who didn't just maintain our infrastructure, she saved it. When the port strikes hit last year, we should have gone under. We didn't, because one woman stayed up for 72 hours straight, rerouting our entire fleet using a system she designed herself. He looked directly at me. My heart stopped. I'd like to invite the recipient of the Visionary Leadership Award to the stage. Please join me in welcoming our Director of Operations, Megan Louise Fletcher. The applause wasn't polite. It was thunderous. It was a roar of respect from 2,000 people who knew exactly how hard it was to do what I had done. I walked up those stairs, the silk of my dress rustling, and as I took the heavy glass trophy from Marcus, I felt a strange cooling sensation in my chest. I didn't wish my parents were there to see it. For the first time in my life, I realized I didn't need them to. I was enough. I gave a 3-minute speech. I didn't stumble. I talked about efficiency, the future of the industry, and the importance of seeing people for their contributions, not their titles. When I sat down, I felt light. For the first time, the emotional Kevlar wasn't necessary. While I was being toasted by the city's elite, my family was at the steakhouse. I know exactly what happened because of my sister's social media. Sarah had posted a photo of a sweating wine glass and a plate of steak with the caption, "Family dinner. Missing the little secretary tonight, but someone has to work the late shift. Poor Meg." Family first. Career goals. Work-life balance. But halfway through their main course, the table went quiet. Not because of a conversation, but because of a notification. The Business Journal had a live feed digital edition. Because Aura Logistics was the largest employer in the county, the award ceremony was being covered in real time. My father, a man of rigid habit, checked the business news every 20 minutes on his phone. He saw the headline first. Aura Logistics reveals surprise director as recipient of Visionary Award. He clicked the link. There, in high definition, was a photo of me. I was standing at the podium, looking powerful, looking elegant, holding an award that represented more influence than my father had earned in 40 years of work. "What is this?" he muttered. He stopped chewing. He turned the phone toward my mother. Sarah leaned in, her fork halfway to her mouth. She read the caption aloud, her voice trailing off into a whisper. Megan Louise Fletcher, Director of Operations, credited with 20% growth in Q3 and a complete overhaul of internal systems. The word director seemed to hang over the table like a guillotine. "Director?" Sarah whispered. Her face went a strange shade of pale, a mix of confusion and recalculating. This wasn't a participation certificate. This was the highest honor in the sector. "She told us it was a secretary award," my mother said, her voice trembling slightly, looking for someone to blame. "No," my father said, his eyes glued to the screen as he scrolled through the article, seeing my name mentioned alongside the city's top CEOs. "She didn't." I said that. "She just said it was an award ceremony." He looked at his expensive steak, suddenly looking very old and very small. He realized in that moment that for 3 years, he had been patronizing a woman who was more successful than he had ever dreamt of being. He had ignored the architect in favor of the secretary because it made him feel superior. And now, The whole world knew he was wrong. I didn't call them that night. I didn't call them the next day either. I went home, put my trophy on the mantle, and slept the best sleep of my life. The first person to reach out was Sarah. She sent a text at 11:12 p.m. "Hey, saw the news. Director? Wow. Why didn't you tell us you got promoted? We could have celebrated. Dinner on us next week?" I didn't reply. The "we could have celebrated" rang hollow. We could have celebrated a year ago if she had ever asked me how my day was. Then came my mother. "Megan, dear, we are so proud. Your father is telling all the neighbors. Why so secretive, though? It's almost like you didn't want us to know." I laughed when I read that. I wasn't being secretive. I was being carefully neutral. I was giving them exactly what they expected of me. Nothing. A week passed before my father finally called. He didn't apologize. Men like him rarely do. Instead, he asked, in a very small, very careful voice, "So, Megan, what exactly do you do at work these days?" These days was his way of pretending that this was all a very recent development, a sudden stroke of luck rather than years of ignored brilliance. I let him have the lie. I explained my job in calm, professional terms. I didn't brag. I didn't rub it in. I simply gave him the facts of my life. He listened for 20 minutes without interrupting me once. That was the real award. Things are different now. When we go to dinner, Sarah doesn't make jokes about my little job. My mother doesn't ask me to do the dishes while the professionals talk. But more importantly, I don't care if they do. I realized that the lowly secretary was a character they created to feel better about themselves. But Megan Louise Fletcher? She was someone I created for myself. And she was doing just fine. Sometimes the best revenge isn't a loud confrontation or a dramatic scream. It's just living a life so big and so bright that their small opinions can no longer cast a shadow on you. It's funny how people only start respecting your time once they realize how much someone else is willing to pay for it. Have you ever been underestimated by the people who were supposed to know you best? Or maybe you've had a mic drop moment that changed everything? I want to hear your stories in the comments below. I read as many as I can. If you enjoyed Megan's victory, hit like and subscribe for more stories like this. It really helps the channel grow. Thanks for watching. And remember, don't let someone else's narrow vision define your horizon. See you in the next one.